guys, we're here with Vanguard Title. Super excited. Sorry my voice is kind of recovering from Tony Robbins, but it was amazing. Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about wire fraud. Our company's had a lot of implementations to really protect you and your clients from wire fraud. So this is Jen. She's our awesome escrow officer on the 4th floor, and she's going to give you a few tips and let you know what we do to kind of protect you from that.
Afternoon, everybody. So I touched on this a little bit at the new agent training yesterday, and I just kind of, Sue is being a really big stickler of wire fraud, wire fraud, wire fraud. So I just wanted to go over a couple of things that can really help, really protect your clients and make you guys look really great, right? So we all know that wire fraud is super prevalent. So just imagine this. Got a seller just netted $100,000 on a house. They're buying their dream house up in Park City. They're using the proceeds that they net toward that. They get an email from somebody who they think is you, asking them to wire their funds to some bank in Florida. You call them the next day, hey, we're all ready for your closing. Here's where you're gonna send your wire. What do you mean, agent? I sent my wire to Florida yesterday. That is a sick situation to be in, and we've had it happen super recently. Not us personally, but it's happened like within the last 2 months. A super sweet old couple where it wired $94,228 to Florida, and it's gone. What do you do after that? How do you protect your buyers? This little sheet is going to outline what the importance is and how you're going to protect your clients. So the first thing that I just wanted to talk about was just really upfront and most foremost, just have your buyers verify wire instructions verbally. Always, no exception, no matter what. They're either going to call you, a number that they know, they can Google whoever your preferred title company is, hopefully us, talk to one of us too. They're getting lots of emails from people with your name, your address, not your phone number. They're calling to verify those. Of course, they're going to not put a phone number on there that they know. So they're thinking that they're being upfront. So one of the things that we really find is actually having them verify with a known number. Every title company's phone number is right on Google. Never ever have them reply to the number that's in the body of the email. So wire instructions, we always are going to send out. They're never going to change. That's one thing that we're finding is they're getting a wire instruction up front from actually title or their lender. They're getting a follow-up saying, hey, we actually need you to wire here. That's never going to happen. Okay, so we actually had an incident with an agent a couple weeks ago where we had a buyer at a bank and they called us because their agent really put forth that call a verified number, and so they called us. It wasn't our wire instructions. The agent's email had been hacked. It literally saved them $27,000 just because they called a number that they knew because their agent advised them. That's going to make you guys look like a rock star. Imagine the Google review. Hey, didn't know my agent, didn't know this, didn't have the cell phone number. They actually wrote a really good review for their agent. Hey, my agent warned me about this up front. I called and verified it. It saved me $27,000. So I have a little handout for everybody. I really advise that you guys read all of this. It's really pertinent to ultimately saving your guys' most valuable thing, which is the client. So we're trying to send these out with every PR that we're going to be sending. So we're implementing that soon. So that you guys have this and our wire instructions right up front with everything too. So, just really educate your buyers. Wire instructions never going to change. Verify with a known source. So hopefully you or actually the title company. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. But I've got these little handouts for everyone.
Awesome, thank you. Appreciate you guys being our partners. The wire fraud thing is super, super scary. We're seeing a lot more of it. So really dive into this deep and understand what you need to do to navigate through today's obstacles for that purpose. It's sad when people lose that kind of money. Even if it's a little bit, it's a sad thing. So one of the other things I wanted to bring up today is Russ just got certified for the ethics court, correct?
Yeah, we have got the course approved for the.
Code of
CE.
ethics.
Code of ethics, so we're gonna be having that here.
Use that one.
It's good that we have him for that. So we'll have that now, and I'm not sure when you're gonna do it, but have you laid that out yet soon? Yeah, because a lot of people are needing
We
it.
did.
So I don't see lending in here. But give us a home warranty tip.
So, can you send it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
So, let's see, a home warranty tip. Let's see, let's talk about water heaters. When you're having an inspection done on a water heater, of course, when you see something in regards to like flames burning up the water heater or cracks,
That's a problem.
something you want to do in regards to negotiation in regards to that. So, you know, of course, that's going to be a pre-existing, comes to home warranty, and it's like, that's kind of a pre-existing. Pre-existings are really hard because we don't, you know, it's hard to turn down pre-existings, but there is pre-existing, so water heaters, so make sure that they're being
Perfect.
looked at.
Everybody knows Sandra. If you don't, Sandra used to be, our company here, but she does a great job in helping us, so.
With pre-existing, if it's not on the seller's disclosures, and then a home warranty person would come out after closing and find something wrong with it, does that mean it's pre-existing because it wasn't on the seller's disclosures?
Not necessarily. So what we'll do is we don't really go off the seller's disclosures or or an inspection. What we do is we send out our contractor and they take a look at it to see what's going on at that moment in time. If it's something that they've been in their home for 30 days or more, it's going to be a covered item. If it's something that's not working, it may be a pre-existing, but it's always negotiable. I mean, we can always work something out. We always have contractors that will come out and give you, a discount on the items. So it all depends. It all just depends. So we don't actually go off the seller's disclosure. Excuse me. Seller's disclosures or inspection reports. So it's just something that we have our contractors take a look at. They're the ones that specialize in this.
So reach out to your home warranty representative is the answer,
Yeah.
and they can investigate it with you to try to determine what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Sandra, thanks for
Yes.
being here as part of this. Do we have anything coming up other than Summit on the
Yes.
7th? Okay, do you want to share that with us?
Mike Curry is coming for a 4-day action workshop at the end of May. It is his, from what I've been told, is his scripting and role play action workshop. So it's a very highly recommended one that I would recommend to everybody, just in the effectiveness of how you actually, and it goes along with what even Bella is going to be teaching today, actually use the scripts in an effective way and manner to address the personality styles. And so I think it's a big benefit to you. Superstar Retreat is July 17th through the 20th. And I believe the next Tony Robbins event is the 13th through the 15th of July. So
Okay, perfect.
if you're interested, come talk to me about it.
You know, guys, and look, this is where the rubber hits the road. The scripting, the role playing, those kind of things is certainly where you're going to elevate your business. Learn how to talk to people. And with that being said, Belladonna has been so gracious to teach us over the years. I wanted to have her back again and do it again, but she's going to actually have 2 follow-up classes that are going to be in addition to this one that I would highly suggest you put it on your calendar and be part of it. She can explain more of what it is, but it is a game changer. Make no mistake. How we talk to each other really, really matters. So as you navigate through your career, these are the kind of things you can actually build on top of over and over. It's like building muscle. You have to keep at it. You'll get better and better at it, and your business will grow immensely. So with that being said, let's give her a round of applause, Belladonna. Thank you.
All right, so first thing I like to do is take a little bit of a temperature check. Who in the room has actually taken a course on personality, communication styles, any of that? Okay, so we got a few, maybe 25% of the room, and who hasn't? Okay, and I'm just gonna say you guys on the back row just seriously lucked out, because I was gonna make everybody move forward. Well, at least I was gonna make a request that everybody move forward, but I think we actually filled out pretty good over the case, but I'm just saying. you guys felt like moving forward a little bit, it would be okay. I wouldn't get upset if you got to move it around. Okay, so basically what it comes down to is how can we most effectively convey what it is we have to offer to a client? How can we most effectively move through a negotiation when we're in the middle of a transaction so that we get the best possible solution for all parties with the least amount of resistance and brain damage? So who's down for learning a little bit of that? Okay. Now, here I do have a couple of questions because, names will not be used. Who here knows at least one agent who every deal they do seems to be some sort of drama fest? Okay, now, in all of those transactions, what's the one constant?
The agent.
The agent, right? Okay, so at the end of the day, it's going to be a little bit of mindfulness so we can help identify what our own primary style is. And then I'm going to give you a really, really fast overview on how you're going to be able to identify it's going to be a quick and dirty way to identify the style of the person that you're trying to communicate with, whether it's on the phone, in person, whatever. And then you're going to be able to, I'm going to say, amend how you're talking to them so that it's going to be best received. So, does everybody have a handout? These went around. Okay, so again, when I say this is going to be a really high-level overview, we're going to cover a lot of stuff really freaking fast, so don't worry about taking notes. Pretty much everything is in here. So hopefully it lets you can follow along and just pay attention a little bit better. Okay, so first thing I want to do is we're just going to see if we can figure out which one of these 4 major styles we fall into. Now, here's the thing, right? Do you think there's potentially, possibly more than 4 basic styles that 7 billion people fall into?
Sure.
Yeah, so think of this. This is just a really general way for us to quickly sum up what somebody's primary style is, right? And then most people, for the most part, are going to be a combination of 2 major styles to a greater or lesser degree. So has anybody had this experience? You're talking to somebody, you think you've got them kind of figured out, and then let's say you set an appointment with them on the phone, and then you get out when it's time to start getting contracts signed, they seem different. Has anybody had that experience?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So maybe they were a little more cheerful on the phone, and in person all of a sudden they're a little more assertive than you were prepared for, right? Or maybe you all of a sudden can't get them to make a decision. Who's had that happen? Right? Now, has anybody in here had a situation where you just knew you're talking to somebody or you're trying to talk to somebody and you're not clicking, right? It's just a mismatch.
Yeah.
And the harder you try, the worse it gets, right? Okay, so this is where this is going to hopefully come in and really help. So, of the 4 personality styles, does anybody have any ideas? Let's throw some out there. What do you think? Now, of course, you have the answers, so let's see, without looking, what do you think some of the major styles might fall into? Let's throw one out. See, Lindsay's being good because she knows. So she's letting you guys answer.
Well, she's an expressive, so I'm real impressed. Says the other expressive.
Okay, driver. But, so here we go, okay? Here's a perfect example. We'll pick on Lindsay for a minute. When I said people fall generally in a category of a combination of 2 styles, this is exactly what happens. Would you categorize yourself as like a driver expressive?
Yep.
Mike will tell you I'm a high-level driver.
Yeah,
My
I would agree.
disc will tell you I'm a high D, just slightly more expressive than ID.
Yeah, that's right where I would see it. If everybody was like, ID what? What? It's another, it's the Tony Robbins version of what we'll be sharing with you right here. It's just this one's not copyrighted. So, okay, so we got, you know what, for our expressives, I'm gonna use pink.
Really?
Yeah, well, if we had more markers that worked, I'd use orange, but
The orange that's on the floor doesn't work?
No, that's why I threw it on the floor. So I chucked it over there because it was dried out. Okay, so we have an expressive. What else what other kind of personality styles do you guys run into out there? Gotcha. We're gonna use red for our drivers. Who else? Got it. And then, who's our last one?
Lots of analyticals.
Who here finds analyticals difficult? Okay, there's my drivers in the room.
No problem.
And my
Yeah,
expressives.
right.
Who here finds drivers difficult? Liars. Liars. Everybody finds drivers difficult. They're a pain in the ass.
Oh, analyticals.
Analyticals.
Yeah, you put
Oh,
two drivers.
gotcha.
It's because she's a driver.
Thank you. And actually, I kind of swapped them, but that's okay. Ah, my rag is wet. Now my dry erase markers won't work. Well, when that dries out, we'll put more up there. Okay. So, let's start with the easy ones. Expressives. How do you know you've gotten it? Let's say, does everybody here make cold calls? Does everybody here call? For the most part?
Yeah.
Or door knock? Or, for that matter, it doesn't matter. You could be getting your leads from any lead source, right? At some point, you have to speak to a human being to get a deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so, however you're getting your leads, how do you identify somebody as an expressive?
Friendly. They'll talk to you.
Yeah, they are friendly, aren't they?
Descriptive.
Stop talking.
Who said that?
They would be. Right.
Talkative? Is that a fair assessment?
Usually have wide open body language.
Oh, that's a
Yes.
good one. Yeah,
Big,
that's
big
true.
loud body language. Can I tell you a funny story really quick?
Sure.
Heather Pappas, everybody here named Heather?
Oh, yeah.
I was at her birthday party, and I was introduced to somebody, and I turned around like this.
Oh.
I slapped his eyeglasses right off his face. So we tend to have big body
Yeah.
language. You're having a conversation with them, and they look like they're trying to land a plane, right? They're like,
Right. That's true.
yeah. What else? Shy or outgoing?
Outgoing.
Extremely extroverted.
Right on. Okay, anything else?
Typically happy.
They'll avoid getting to the point. They just want to yak for a while.
How about this? Organized or disorganized?
Disorganized.
All right, let's think of one more. Finishers or starters?
Starters.
So, and in this I'm going to put ideas, right?
Yeah.
Party poopers.
Party poopers? No way.
Fast or
Center of the
slow
party.
decision makers?
Fast.
Fast.
Okay, so now we're going to start
Exponentially.
seeing some
Exponentially.
commonalities. So right here I'm going to put
Fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody just said impulsive without question.
yes,
Fast.
highly impulsive,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some
right?
ways.
which can be really nice for signing a listing agreement,
Yep.
right? I mean, you might be there for 5 hours, but at least they'll sign the contract,
Yeah.
One of
right?
my favorite things with expressives is they are the people who always appear to be looking like they're busy, but they're not ever busy,
Yeah,
right? So they're always the person that's like looking to, like making themselves look like they're busy, but they're not. So like if you're looking at like a seller or a buyer, right? It's often gonna be the ones who are involved in like PTA and all these different charity things. Like you'll find the expressives pretty easy.
yeah. They stand out, right? You can pick an expressive out at a party. So we're pretty much got these guys dialed in. Okay, how do I identify a driver?
To the point.
I want to act.
Arrogant.
So they think they're arrogant?
No.
People, they appear to be arrogant.
Decisive?
They don't chit chat.
Or listen.
They're not
or
big on,
listeners.
they're not big on social niceties, are
No,
they?
they're not.
Always rushing.
So what do you think happens if a talkative expressive comes into the house of a driver and is all over the place in their presentation?
Knocks them out the door.
What if they're gushing about how cute their house is?
Yeah.
They're gonna hate it.
How's it gonna go over?
They will
Oh,
lose.
well.
Oh,
Right.
wow. Explosive.
What else on the driver?
Controlling.
Very.
Hard worker.
They can be.
They're hard workers.
How serious are they about results?
Extremely.
Very. Action.
Do they care or not care so much if somebody's feelings get hurt in the drive to get to a result?
Not so much.
Not
do they
much.
care.
If somebody just tells you quit whining and get it done,
Yep.
you're
They're a
probably
driver.
talking to a driver, right?
Yeah.
Do
So,
your job.
yeah,
That's-
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, shut up and do your job.
You can absolutely see as these personalities start to unfold how important it is that you not just be one.
Correct.
You need to be able to be a driver and expressive at some point in your life. You need to be able to meld all these personalities together.
And we have a word for it, and it's called versatile. You need to be versatile. So here's the thing. The one concept that I want everybody to get down. The point of this is absolutely not to change who you are. The power the power of your presentation is going to be harnessing and putting who you are out there, right? But you've got to be versatile enough that you can talk to people in their own language. Okay, so it's not unlike who here has ever seen a movie where someone is speaking to another person who doesn't speak their language? And the other person's not understanding, so what does the person do?
Slow down.
They raise their voice.
Yeah.
Like shouting in them is going to improve their cognition, right?
Right?
And that's what we tend to do. When we just, with no mindfulness and no awareness of the other person's preferred method of communication is, up the volume, not only are they not going to hear us any better, but they're going to get annoyed with us that much faster, right? So,
Bella, on that point, I think is just important to what you've said, right? Is I think in sales, oftentimes we want to be a certain personality style, right?
yes.
I mean, of course, to my boss Mike, I would love to be perceived as a driver, so thank goodness he thinks that, right? But my real personality is expressive. And most people who know me really well would tell you that it is.
Totally.
Right?
But
I do
your
have
drive
but I
is
have an
really
underlying
high.
of a driver. I think it's important what you're saying, right, is a lot of people want to be something they're not. But one of the biggest things, and I think it was me and Jason, we went to a Mike Ferry management retreat. And I think the biggest aha that we took away was when you truly accept who you are, and you truly find the essence of who you are, right, whether you're the expressive, the driver, the amiable, or the analytical, then you truly can learn your versatility skills.
Yes.
It's when you try to be somebody else and then you're now trying to be versatile, you're not going to be versatile because you're not being true to who you are first.
That's exactly right. And where's our area of greatest strength going to lie?
In ourselves.
In ourselves. So, well, I think one of the best analogies out there is, what if you take the best you guys forgive me, I don't follow sports. So right now, who's a world-class quarterback?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady?
He was just in the Super Bowl.
Okay, that works
I mean,
for me. What if you
only
say
quarterback I know,
statistics,
so-
what if you say Tom Brady?
What's scary is a girl is saying that's not the boy.
Nah, we know how much you love football. What if we took Tom Brady and made him a nose guard? How good of a nose guard would Tom Brady be?
Oh, he's flattened.
He would be a terrible, no, what if he tried really, really hard to be a nose
He
guard?
get flattened, he doesn't have the mass.
So, play to your strengths, but just make sure you don't have any glaring weaknesses. Does that make sense?
Right.
So you're gonna be the best whatever style that you can possibly be, and you're gonna shore up your other two so that you don't have such a glaring weakness in your communication delivery style that you're basically hamstringing yourself in a presentation, right? So, drivers, here's the perfect one, right? With all politics aside, what would everybody in here categorize Donald Trump as? Driver. He's probably like the quintessential driver personality style,
Well, I
right?
can think of a few
Okay.
words.
What about our amiables? Let me see, this might let me right now. How about our amiables? What characterizes this style?
Are you analytical or
Amiables.
Cause you've got
You already
animals.
put it
Oh,
on.
son of a
Says the
You're
expressive.
getting all mixed up.
expressive swear.
You're a lot.
Wait, do you use this in
I
word?
don't swear a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Perfect. As if you could read it, I mean, okay. So, our amiables over here, what characterizes an amiable personality style?
Want to make everybody happy.
They're peace-loving, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could
Sweet.
probably do with a few more of those kinds of people.
Easy going.
I mean, you can't just burn the world down nonstop. Easy, I heard easygoing.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're kind of,
You
isn't
get
that a
along.
relief?
Get along.
Like they're the opposite of high maintenance, right? High maintenance is cute at a party, but it gets old over the long run, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the first ones to agree to an appointment just to get you off the phone.
So, a yes that is not a yes.
So when you know there's a yes quick, you know you have an amiable.
You got
A
it.
yes that's not a yes, right?
Yeah.
So,
Do not text them.
why do they do that? Why would an amiable tell you yes?
They don't like confrontation.
No, they don't like confrontation.
Or they're open to guidance. I have a buyer right now who's very amiable. I mean, it was the quickest yes I've ever had on the phone. She was here in 30 minutes. They chose like the second house they saw. Everything's like easy breezy with her. Because
Nice.
she was very comfortable being like, yeah, help me.
There you go. So, would you say here often they have an ego that is in check? Would you agree?
Yeah.
An ego, now, which is not to say no ego, because make no mistake, we all have an ego. But they tend to have a good handle on theirs.
They operate more from a heart space than a head space, I feel like.
Yes,
Thank you.
Sentiment.
thank you. They are, amiable people are in touch with their feelings, and they tend to feel a lot, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Belladonna,
Feelings.
they'll be non-confrontational up to the point where they're gonna get hurt. And then, boom, something
Oh.
comes out and you think, where did that come from?
Mount Vesuvius, right? Like Krakatoa. You guys remember that one? We had winter for like 5 years because of Krakatoa when it blew in the 1800s. So,
If an amiable blows,
yes.
all the other
So that,
personalities
right,
run for the
walk
hills.
quietly and carry a big stick. That's kind of the amiable, like I've had enough. I'm sorry I had to kill you. But, do they,
No.
want consensus? Are they more concerned with consensus or with being right?
Consensus.
Consensus.
Secretly, if I'm not sure how to spell something, I'll write really messy so you
Yeah,
can't tell.
We know that.
You found my deep
Just if you ever
secret.
find yourself in that position, it's a great strategy.
So Belladonna, I always just say that if you can't spell a word more than one way, you're not very creative.
I know, see, I
See?
agree.
Says the amiable.
That's
I
how
had a chemistry teacher dog me for spelling. I mean, so,
He's an analytical.
I was an English major as well, it makes no sense.
Bella, those are the guys that you don't want to close quickly. So you'll use fill, felt, found questions,
Yes.
right? So how do you feel about this? What made you decide on this property? I mean, you'll ask them fill, felt, found questions. So they're the people you can't close quickly, and if you do, they will shut down.
Yes, and how will you know that these folks are starting to shut down? What do they do when they start to feel too much pressure?
They just ghost you.
That's it, they retreat. They won't take your calls, they won't respond to your texts, they won't respond to your emails, they just vanish, right? They don't wanna deal with you, so they will avoid. What happens when this guy doesn't wanna deal with you?
Oh,
Tells
He
you.
tells you. Yeah, quickly.
very good.
If it's a combination of these two, they'll tell you with an adjective. So, okay, and analyticals. Tell me about these guys. How do you know you've got an analytical?
Statistics.
No
Statistics.
emotion.
engineers.
Yeah, right.
So what does that mean? How do we characterize somebody who's an engineer? What are they typically?
Zero
Overthink.
emotions. They
It's,
don't move quick.
so low emotion,
But they're intelligent.
Yeah, they're very intelligent. They want the
They
numbers.
like statistics, numbers, results.
statistics, numbers, data.
Yeah.
Do they want to review data?
They're very organized.
Highly
They
organized.
control a lot of that.
Typically restrained or unrestrained.
My husband's one of them.
Unless they're emotional about something, then they go.
How important is it to them to make correct decisions?
Very important.
What's more important to them, getting it done fast or getting it done right?
You're right. Perfectionist.
Is this the person that's likely to take as long as necessary to make sure they're making a correct decision?
Yes.
Yeah.
How many people do you think they're going to interview before they hire a listing agent? Probably
Few.
several,
Yeah.
right? So let's play kind of a fun thing. And I've got it kind of summed down. For the drivers, what do you think's most important to the driver?
Results?
Hands down, right? They're after results. Do they necessarily care how, as long as you're not breaking the law?
No.
And even then.
That's a different personality style. We're not going to get into narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths. But, okay. Out of analyticals, what is most important to the analytical?
It's done right.
Done right. They're highly vested in things being done, being correct. That's not the same, don't confuse it with saying, no, I've got to be right, like somebody who won't back down. They actually will change an opinion based on enough data that they trust, right? What would you say is the number one highest need of the expressive?
To be appreciated.
The close. Few more.
Connection.
Fun.
Connection for sure.
Trust.
But the sort of, the whole,
They got
you know,
it.
I know we've got to do it, but can we have a good time? Can it be
A
fun?
positive experience, I guess.
I'll flip it around. What's the worst freaking thing you can do to an expressive?
Make it
Bored.
We're bored. Bored. Like stick a needle in their eye, right? They don't want to be bored. They're
Can we,
fast thinkers, fast decision makers, right?
Take more
What's the
action.
most important thing
can we
to
say
the amiable?
action right there? Take more action?
Yeah, definitely. How about the amiables?
There, people feel
Approval.
connection. Sorry, I thought you were saying amiable.
What feels good? Approval.
They need to feel
They're
good.
Good. Everything
They
should
need
be
to feel good about a decision,
Good
and they
about
need to
it.
feel, I heard approval, and I heard earlier appreciation,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Valued.
Yeah, value for sure.
Valued. Okay, so now, already, once we take just a little bit of time to actually kind of think it through and talk it through, are you guys already starting to see, if you step into a presentation with one of these people and you handle it wrong, the odds of you actually succeeding with them are slim to none,
Definitely.
depending on who you are, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's take a quick look because there's some interesting combinations here. If we go everything above this line, we've got people who are fast decision makers, right? How about risk? What's their risk tolerance above this line? High or low? They're risk takers, aren't they? So high risk tolerance. How about below this line, fast or slow decision makers? How's their risk tolerance?
Low.
Okay, now we're going to go the opposite direction. We're just going to have a really fun looking board by the time I'm done. On this side of the board, high emotion or low emotion?
No, low emotion.
And then that kind of leaves us on this side with high emotion, right?
Yes.
Okay, now we kind of start getting a big picture. So, let's just say we have an agent who's kind of amiable and expressive. They're like really sweet and they're upbeat and they were a cheerleader in high school and everything's really positive and they're not really organized, but man, they can just really get stuff done. Just take my word for it. And they walk into a listing presentation with somebody who falls on this side of this quadrant. How do you think the driver analytical is going to perceive the amiable expressive?
Unorganized, unprofessional.
Unprofessional. How else?
Immature.
Immature.
Immature. How
Time
else?
waster.
Time waster.
Uninformed.
Exactly. Why?
Because they're not presenting data, they're presenting emotion.
Exactly. So what's the likelihood that this person is going to feel comfortable enough to make a decision to hire this person?
Not good.
So does that mean that an amiable expressive can never walk in and do a knock it out of the park listing presentation?
No.
So what do they have to do to pull that off?
Show time.
So as I'm looking at these incredible personalities, when I'm with my children, I'm amiable. When I'm with my mother-in-law, I'm a driver. With my husband, I'm expressive, analytical. And I see myself switching these categories depending on who I'm with. So we're not talking about changing ourselves. We're talking about highlighting those sides of our personalities based on who we're with.
Being versatile. Being versatile enough. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think it's inconsiderate or considerate to walk into a presentation with somebody who's trying to make a decision over their most valuable asset that they will probably ever own in their life, tens of thousands of dollars in some cases of equity on the line, hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity in other cases, and just talk to them however we want? Or should we speak to them in a way that they're going to be able to best understand what we have to offer?
I was just gonna say, I think what's most important is that we go into it knowing those people well enough that we'll know what they need, because it doesn't really matter what we are, we need to know our people that we're dealing with so we know how best to deal with them.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, just being prepared ahead of time.
Yes. So, the very first thing you're going to start doing is you're going to start figuring out who you're talking to from the moment they answer the phone. Who here thinks they could now identify the personality of the person that they are working with based off of one word? Okay, what if that one word was hello, or how they answer the phone? What are you going to hear when a driver answers the phone?
A low tone. Quick.
Yes?
A low,
What else?
direct.
Direct? Clipped? Short?
This is Lindsay.
Okay. Did everybody just hear that? Say it again for me louder.
This is Lindsay.
Does that give you, right? So let me tell you. This is how I answer the phone. Hey, this is Belladonna. And then I hear, hi, Belladonna, how can I help you? And I switch instantly. And I'm like, how can I help you? I don't have time for a sales call right now. And I just switch so fast into driver mode, they don't even have 2 seconds, right? So now they answer the phone, hello? You know you're on this side of the board, right? Okay, so it's not that hard to start to figure out who you've got, who you're dealing with. Now, when all is said and done, you start with making some very rapid decisions, and we all do it instinctively anyway, so this is nothing new. Can you quickly determine if the person on the other end of the line is high emotion or low emotion? Pretty fast.
Yeah.
So now you can pretty much put them on one side of this equation, right? Within a few minutes of chatting with them, are you pretty rapidly going to be able to decide if they're more relationship-based or results-based? Yes. Okay, now you are going to start to tailor your message based on a couple of basic decisions, right? Okay, so each of these guys have some very distinctive, now if we look, and I don't think we have numbers on here, but if we go to what they're going to respond best to and things to avoid when you're trying to talk with these folks. So, who here has walked into a presentation with an analytical and found themselves woefully underprepared? Okay, so this is my one secret tip for this class. I don't care who you think you're meeting with. Most of the time that person is going to have a spouse or some kind of partner who's going to be also part of that decision. Every single time you prepare for a listing presentation or buyer presentation, I want you to prepare it as if you were going to be pitching an analytical, because you might be. If you get into that presentation and there are no analyticals at the table, then you don't worry about it. You don't necessarily have to dive into all that data. But if there is, you better have it ready to go, right? Because you could have had a husband on the phone who was amiable, and then he's got a hyper analytical wife, right? Who's going to drill you for the next 25 minutes on market stats and all of your personal stats. So always prepare as if you were going to have an analytical at the table. Now, and I like to tease Greg because he's my analytical in the group.
Great.
If you have an expressive or an amiable, or in some cases even a high level driver, and you're analytical, who in the room thinks they're analytical?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, my husband.
Okay,
But
yeah. So you know what the irony is? So we've got what, roughly just around 20%, give or take. Who thinks they're amiable? Absolutely. Who thinks they're expressive? Who thinks they're a driver? Drivers. Okay, perfect.
I'm a little bit driver too.
I would agree.
Yep.
I would agree with that assessment. Okay, so 1 and 4, right? We're all about 1 and 4. So,
Hey, Belladonna, what about if you face somebody who is a driver and an expressive, and I'm also a driver and expressive? How you handle that?
you've
A
got,
client is a driver and I'm expressive, and I'm also a driver and expressive.
yes.
How you handle
So
that?
what you have to be is diffident.
Okay.
You just simply need.
Okay, that's a high word for me. So what is that?
It's, if you've got 2 expressives, you're in trouble, right? You've got to rein yourself in, or you will get nothing done. You'll just have a bunch of fun talking about stuff, and then like 3 hours later, and you're like, oh yeah, I have this contract. So that's where we've got to be self-aware enough to rein ourselves in a little bit. And if it's a driver, then you've got to learn how to be very direct without being insulting, right? So they'll respect your assertiveness. They will get into a fight with you if they perceive it as aggressiveness, right? So that's the key there. So what happens if my analyticals walk into a presentation with one of these touchy-feely folks and they just stick hardcore to that analytical core?
You go to Philippines camp.
It's going to be painful. Is it going to be painful for this person up here? Yeah. And does this person feel like, but it's for their own good?
Oh, yeah.
They need to understand these numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like we get, we get hung up on why we need to kind of force our way down somebody else's throat. So let's talk a little bit about who our kryptonite personalities are, okay? All of these that share a side share traits in common. A driver has things in common with an expressive, right? They're both decisive, they're both fast decision makers, they both are willing to take risks. A driver has things in common with an analytical, don't they? What do these two have in common again?
Result based.
And they're low numbers.
Low emotion. Gotcha. Analyticals and amiables also have traits in common, right? Slow decision makers,
No risk.
low risk. And amiables and expressives have traits in common, right? They're both high emotion, they both want consent, they prefer to have everybody getting along, right? What about the traits that are on a diagonal from each other?
Oil and water.
It happens.
What does the amiable and the driver have in common?
Usually in relationships with each other.
Nothing. Yes, we love to pick them as partners. That's why the divorce rate is 60%.
They usually are. That's what it is. The driver's usually with the amiable because the amiable will see some
balances them out, right? We seek our natural counterbalance, right? What does the analytical and the expressive have in common?
Drive each other nuts.
They do. Very little. So you are gonna have to bring your freaking A game.
I live with one.
There you go. So if you know, hey, I'm an analytical and I'm going into this appointment with an expressive, Greg, you gotta get in the car and you gotta play some loud music and you gotta like try and get yourself pumped up. You gotta smile more. You've gotta be a little more, I'll put in some more questions.
Quick.
Yes. Only give the data that they need, right? Okay.
So on that one, Bella, it was actually kind of fun. One of our experienced agents was actually downstairs yesterday, and Rick, you know probably who I'm speaking to. And he's high level analytical. Right? And now you immediately could tell just by the way he was talking and what he was talking about.
Yeah.
He was talking to his new agent who's joining his team, right? And obviously letting her know, and now all of us who are here can say, we know we need to have the market statistics, we know we need to know those types of things because it makes us better prepared. But then he's sitting there talking to an expressive and you can just see this blank stare on her face. Like, great, that's all great, and why do I need to know this? And she was overwhelmed, and she was, right? But the fun thing about it is one of the things you'll notice is I would even say, right, your counterparts have something in common too. So an analytical can get very fast in talking, speaking, things like that when they get connected to their passion. So if an analytical goes in on numbers, he can talk for hours and just go.
Yes.
And can be mistaken as an expressive when really he's a high level analytical, and then that expressive is going, oh my gosh, what are you doing? And it's just going, boom.
I actually had somebody mistake me for an analytical, which I thought was hilarious. I was teaching them how to swim. And I'm very precise about the correct swim stroke. She's like, oh, you must be very analytical. No. So, what does that mean? That means, as humans, do we all spend time in all four of these quadrants? At some point? Of course we do. We are all a percentage to a greater and lesser degree of all these. Okay, we can relate to all of them on some level. This is now about one, being self-aware enough to identify what you are, figure out where your strengths are, and then being observant enough that you can start to identify traits and communication patterns in the people that you're talking to. And then the last trick is simply modifying your delivery so that they are going to be able to accept what it is that you have to share with them. So let's talk a little bit now about the combinations, right? Well, actually, I'll tell you what, we'll do some fun stuff here. Let's talk about how all four of these personality styles behave under pressure or when things start going wrong. What do you think the driver does?
Freaks out.
Freaks
Drives
out?
harder.
Drives harder? What's that mean?
They get loud, noisy, forceful.
Forceful.
Yeah.
Swear.
Arrogant.
They swear.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they might. Do they tend to,
Maybe violent, I don't know.
Well, they can shut down too.
do they tend to get more demanding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frustrated. Yeah.
Steamroll, right over the top of you. I don't care what the hell it takes, get the damn house sold.
I think
Now.
they'll end the conversation. Just end it.
Yes.
Sometimes they can just fire you.
Are they worried about being rude?
No.
They don't.
They're not even remotely worried about being rude. As a matter of fact, who here do you think would probably use being rude as a strategy to get their way? A driver. Who here is probably the most likely to use anger to get their way?
Right.
Like, when in doubt, I'm just gonna scare them into it, right?
Right.
So, okay. So if you start coming up against that behavior in a driver, you're gonna recognize it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to deal with it? Especially if you fall on one of these two bottoms.
I've wondered that, because if you get to their level, aren't you just escalating stuff? But shouldn't you stay calm and then they'll come down?
So, it's a really logical decision to have come to. It is, but typically it's not the best way. So, and this is gonna be why we're actually gonna break this up over 3 courses. So the second course we're gonna do is on really battlefield tested communication skills and strategies, and what you say, how you say it, when you say it, to really start to move this forward. Identifying who you're saying it to is kind of step 1. But one of the things that you've got to get good at is the ability to ask the correct questions and to do it in the correct tone when these people start getting out of line, right? So, who here, male or female, has ever gotten into an argument with your significant other and made the horrible mistake of telling them, why don't you just calm down?
Oh.
Has anybody been there?
Yeah.
How'd that go for you? Yeah, no matter what side of that conversation you were on, did you go, why yes, I was being irrational, I think I shall calm down? No, that wasn't the reaction?
Greater so.
Yeah, that's why just trying to be calm and rational with a driver won't work. It'll ratchet them up even higher.
If you tell them. If your behavior is calm without saying, hey, calm down, when you're calm, can't you lead by example on that?
So on this,
What about acknowledging what he's doing?
on this, the best way you're gonna go is knowing how to ask the right questions and how to quickly summarize what you think is going on. So I might say, let's say I've got a really irate driver because they don't agree with me with the price of their house, right?
Okay.
And he says, you know what, I don't think you know what you're talking about, and the last agent told me they'd make me $100,000 more, and you're an idiot.
Big facts.
And I could say,
Well,
you know what, Joe? You could be right. As a matter of fact, that's the nicest thing anybody's said to me all week. So, sounds like you feel frustrated because you don't like the price I'm telling you because you need to sell your home for as much as you can. Is that right? It is. Now, where exactly do you think he just went? More angry or slightly less?
Slightly less.
So I did a couple things there very quickly. Right? Now, I may not always try to diffuse with humor, but that's kind of my go-to thing if I think I can get away with it. If somebody is really humorless and professional, I won't try it, okay? But if we just go with, so, Joe, sounds like you think I'm an idiot on price because you've been told a higher number, you're feeling frustrated because that's what you need to make, and we need to take a look at what we've got in front of us. Let's take a second look. Did I at any point tell him that what he was feeling or how he was speaking was wrong?
No.
There's no judgment whatsoever there. So that's going to be what we do in our second course, and it's a little bit like emotional jiu-jitsu, and it's really cool.
love it.
And it's how the FBI went from the worst in the world at hostage negotiating to the best in the world at hostage negotiating. So we'll cover that, some really fun stuff.
Well,
So,
I just have a question for you too.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say, so let's just say for an example, a driver goes into even stronger driver mode in your presentation. One of the things that I think you would, as an agent, need to look at is how did you get him there? right? Because he went into driver mode for a reason.
That's right.
And so one of the things I think, one of my things I always will tell my coaching clients is you gotta go, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? So he went into defense mode with you because you did something that got him there.
That's most of the time it's absolutely right. Unless, what if you walk into an appointment? You walk in, listing appointment, nice, you have a way you give your presentation, you sit down at the table, and all of a sudden they're like, I've got 15 minutes, I don't want to hear any of that sales stuff, get right to the bottom number, what's my house worth?
Right.
Now you didn't do anything to bring that on.
That's true.
That's just how they roll,
Yeah.
right? So that too is what we'll kind of cover in the second class, is how do you rein that person in and get control of the situation back in a way that's going to remain productive, so that you don't have to walk out without a listing at the end of the presentation. So for our analyticals, under pressure, what is their under pressure behavior look like?
Think about it.
That's it. That's almost like cheating, Greg.
It is cheating.
When in doubt, what is the answer?
Anytime.
No. When in doubt, the answer is no. They will not take a risk, and no always feels safer to them than yes. So we have we've probably all heard it thrown around, analysis paralysis. Who here has gone into a presentation with an analytical who, in the course of being really, really smart, made the same decision that any other human being could have made in 1/10 of the time? Okay, because they just got hung up in this feedback loop of needing to research as a way to not have to make an uncomfortable decision, right? So they will default and just say, no, I don't have enough information to make a good decision. What does the amiable do under pressure? They retreat. So again, when in doubt, no, because I don't feel good about making this decision, right? So I don't know enough to make the decision. I don't feel good enough to make the decision down here. This one is, I just don't think you'll get me the results to make a decision. How about these guys?
Right.
Who, if you ever have a client that just gets hysterical, they may have been an expressive, right? If you have has anybody here had a client that didn't want to take any responsibility for a transaction getting sideways?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And who wanted to turn around and cast blame all over the place? Yeah, you may have had an expressive. Expressives tend to yell and cast blame, right? So, and how we should probably have a clock in here. Oh, there it is, 12:30. Okay, so I want to keep this right on time, and I'm thrilled that we're just right at 12:31. So if you guys flip to the back, right, you're going to have a couple of categories back there. So you're going to see a category for what's called an expressive driver. You're going to see a category for our analytical drivers. You're going to see a category for our amiable analyticals, which, for the record, tend to be, in my opinion, at the end of the day, some of the easiest and most rational people on the planet to work with. So I know for some reason we tend to kind of like to make fun of these folks, but they make great clients and they make great agents.
Thank you.
And good friends.
Yes, yes. And then we've got our amiable expressives, and it is true, the only way that you'll know they're dead is they finally stop talking. Yeah.
That is funny.
And then, just on a quick, and I hadn't actually meant to talk about it, but Lindsay, I'm so thrilled that you brought it up. So I don't know why it is, But in real estate, and I think in some other fields, law is another one, there seems to be this cult of personality, and we just kind of think that the driver is the person that gets all the deals, that runs the biggest teams, that sells the most homes, right? That's who we all want to be. And then for some reason we feel a little substandard if we don't fit in this box, right? So there was a real interesting nationwide study done of trial attorneys who I think anybody could say, yeah, I think I'd want a driver as my trial attorney, right? Because they've got to get in there and duke it out in a courtroom. And they found that hands down, 95% of the most successful trial attorneys were, let's take a guess, which personality style? Amiable.
Yep.
5% were drivers.
Oh, wow.
5% of the most successful trial attorneys. So, there is hope for us all. So I hopefully, and I know this is just a really high level overview, but there's a lot of really good notes in the handout for you. And we hopefully will be doing a second part to this class. Now we kind of know who we're dealing with. We'll be doing a fairly high level class on communication skills. That could be a 3-level class all on its own, but we're gonna cram it into one. And then we're gonna do a third class that's just on pure negotiation.
So Belladonna,
So-
could we actually have you back next base camp and actually for the next phase?
We
Would
do
that be enough
sooner
time?
so we can be able to follow
So,
all this.
to
Would
keep
you
it
be
all-
okay to
Yeah.
do next week is what I'm asking? Okay. So why don't we plan on, being here to the next week? Because I'd like a close follow-up with this.
Yeah.
Because this
Yeah.
is powerful, good stuff.
And then there's 2 things. There are 2 books 3 books that will change your life.
Okay.
Now,
Perfect.
the first one will change your life. I have studied a lot of stuff. I'm 49. I have studied a lot of subjects over the years. Hands down. Who here, who knew me 5 years ago, would say, how would you have characterized me?
Driver.
Right? What? And it's all cute. You're like, oh yeah, they think I'm scary.
You guys, Belladonna is the one who actually recruited me. When
I
she
am. I'm
called.
really expressive.
Remember?
I work with you. But I'm an expressive driver, so how quick do I shift into dragon lady mode though?
Belladonna, when you
My son used to write to Satan on my Christmas presents.
Oh, wow. That's fun.
Yeah.
Let's get to the books, will you?
Is that your driver kicking in?
Yeah, there's 2 books. Now this first book, it is dry, it is tedious. You're not gonna wanna do it. I don't give a shit.
Where's the driver?
Buy the book, get the workbook, watch the DVDs, or get the DVDs, watch it on YouTube. It'll change your life.
Okay.
Nonviolent communication.
Non-violent. I like it.
Here's where you'll know you're in the right spot. You're gonna see a really serious looking old dude with 2 hand puppets, a giraffe, and a jackal. If you see that on the YouTube video, you got the right guy. Okay? Nonviolent communication, Marshall Rosenberg. Absolutely, it will get, if you did nothing else in your real estate career, but get these concepts down that he teaches, it will transform your business single-handedly. I don't care what else you do. I don't care what other skill set you master. It'll also fix all the other stuff in your life that it gets messed up because of communication, from talking to your kids to talking to your partner, to talking to somebody at the bank, you know what I mean? So if we have a way to send it out, because if you guys go to YouTube, there's going to be a ton of YouTube videos on there, but there is one video, I'm telling you, just watch it. It's 3 hours long.
Oh,
wow.
Oh.
3 hours long. I know. Watch it anyway.
Small investment.
Yeah, what is,
It is a workshop that he did in San Francisco when he was still alive. So Marshall Rosenberg was a therapist. He specialized in conflict resolution. He worked in private practice for 30, 40 years. Parents, feuding wives, but what he is hands down famous for is he was brought into high conflict situations around planet Earth, and that man could negotiate peace in an hour. So he does it exclusively using these concepts.
Wow.
And they sound simple, and I'm telling you, I watched that 3-hour YouTube video. I'm not exaggerating. I've probably watched it at least 50 times.
Wow.
At least. It was really, really hard for me to get my head around the concepts, and then once it finally clicked, I was like, that seems so obvious. You know? So that's going to be number one.
So that's the video for 3 hours?
Yeah, and but he's got, if you go to Amazon, you can get the book. There's a workbook that goes with it. You can get CDs, you can get all kinds of good stuff. But I would say just get the book and then watch the YouTube video, and you guys can take it from there, right? I'll send the link. Who do I send it to, Rick? Okay, I'll get the link for this video and send it to you, Russ.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll get it to Jeanette.
Okay, the next one is, if you only read one book on negotiation in your entire life, I've read this book probably, I mean seriously, I don't know, 50 times? I've got it on audiobook. You know you like a book. I've got it on Kindle, audio, and hard copy,
Yeah.
right?
You've never split the difference?
That's it.
It's outstanding. And he has quite a few videos on YouTube.
He's got a ton.
Yeah.
You can sign
And
up
actually,
to
some of
his,
them are he's speaking to real estate agents.
you can sign up, go to his website, which is called Black Swan. If you don't know what a black swan is, read the book. You will find out. By Chris Voss.
He was a negotiator.
He was the head international negotiator for the FBI for many, many years.
So Rick, next week.
Next week. So next week we're gonna have base camp again. We're gonna have Belladonna back to actually do the second half of this, and then we'll pick another time that we're have the ending presentation. Let's give her a round of applause and appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you so much. It was really fun.
That was a fun
Appreciate
group.
it.
We had a lot of good interaction.
Good interaction.